Welcome to the Inspired by Jacqueline podcast, a refreshing place for women struggling with entrepreneurship, faith, or infertility. Stay tuned for today's episode. Welcome everyone to another episode of Inspired by Jacqueline. Wow. I know I always start with wow, but I just have amazing special guests and I'm very excited all the time that I bring on someone. So here we start with an amazing conversation that is very dear and near to me. And the special guest today, she has an amazing platform and I needed to bring her on to kind of like have that conversation about networking and connections, right? So let me introduce you, Gabriella Borrero. And I didn't want to just give you her nickname, Gabby, because I love that name, Gabriella. I had to say it with that Spanish accent. She is the owner of No Plan B Consulting and the founder of the Next Generation Network. Gabby is a business strategist, a super connector, and believes that no women entrepreneur should be left behind while on their entrepreneurial journey. She teaches entrepreneurs how to build the foundation of their business and network with a heavy emphasis on stepping into your zone, oh yes, of genius to build the business of their dreams. She specializes in authentic community building and does so through virtual speed networking. I have to try that one sometime soon, as well as in-person events along the East Coast to connect, educate, and empower women entrepreneurs of all ages and backgrounds. So I welcome you, Gabby. And if there's anything else you want to add to that, let me know.
Probably the only things missing that I should add in there are my 3 beautiful children who are just my lifelines, of course. And then my husband and I own our vocal recording studio that we've had for 7 years now. So that was my foray into entrepreneurship, was through building the vault alongside him that he now owns.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So we connected. How did we connect? Oh, I reached out. I saw your platform popped up on my Instagram and I was curious. I started following. I saw Next Generation Network and I'm all about networking. I'm all about building relationships, especially the next generation. So why the next generation? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So when I was in the process of doing research for my network, that I always knew I wanted to build a network, I tried different methods of community building before I was like, no, I need to build a network. I wanted to see a network that spanned across different ethnicities, different age ranges, different socioeconomic backgrounds, which previously really hasn't been done before. You don't traditionally see a network that goes outside the bounds of a traditional chamber of commerce or a traditional, oh, well, you have to be 6 figures and above to be inside this network. The exclusivity is great for whoever gets your horn tooted by being super exclusive, amazing. But being expansive is a completely different word that I prefer over being exclusive. So being expansive and saying that we are the next generation of leaders, of speakers, of community builders and owners, and the ones that want to do things differently, right? We want to be inclusive. We want to be diverse. We want to make sure that the events that we do and the way we conduct business is equitable. And I didn't see that being done in a lot of the other groups that I had studied being dedicated towards women entrepreneurs. So we really want to help build the next generation, which simply means generation really in terms of time span. So if we're looking, we founded NGN in 2021. So we want to look at 2021 to 2031, right? what generation are we building, and how are we making the world a better place together through community and through networking and relationship building. So that's really why I picked the next generation, because I think that this generation is going to do it differently than the ones previously, but that doesn't mean that we have to leave any other generation out. I think that we all should build together despite age, despite, again, where you live, what you drive, what you wear. I think building relationships should exist beyond what can be seen by the eye.
Wow. As you were sharing all that, I just saw this reflective journey of mine, and I might be either 2 or 3 generations before you, not to say the age, but definitely I feel that I've been in that route of what you're creating for years. So it's like I've always been towards expansive, being unique, being inclusive. And I feel that sometimes a lot of people either don't get the opportunity to learn about networking because they feel they can't fit in. And we're going to get a little bit more into that, but I don't want to skip this question of how do you start your mornings?
Oh, I love this question because I have a 7-month-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. So largely my morning is spent by waking up with my 7-month-old, who's always the earliest riser, and giving him a bottle, feeding him, cuddling him, changing his diaper, spending some alone time with him. My mornings largely don't start solo until like maybe 10 o'clock, because we're cleaning and we're preparing, and they're very much dedicated to my children and towards brushing their hair, asking them how they slept, how are they. I think really preparing them for the day ahead that they have, whether it's going to be at home with my husband and I, or at school, or with my in-laws who also help us as well. And then once that happens, I normally do my makeup and brush my teeth and listen to music, but always cooking, for my family. And I think it's very much dedicated, our mornings, to being as a family and being together, which always wakes me up in the best mood when I get to see my 7-month-old with 1.5 teeth, because his second tooth isn't fully erupted yet. It's so close to being erupted, but it's not there yet. And I always just feel so fortunate. I feel so happy that we get to spend very slow mornings together. They don't go to daycare. Me and my husband watch our children ourselves and split the days up. So we get to just cherish them at this age, because they're only this young for so little, for so long, which is so finite. It's not long at all, and then they're grown up and
They're creating their own platform. They're
exactly creating their own little lives, and so I think that it's definitely been a sacrifice. I definitely could have decided to place all my children in daycare and before care and after care. That's what my parents largely had to do, but I think that, again, it's my choice and my decision whether I want to follow the path that's been done before, or if I want to pave a new path, which of course comes with sacrifices, but I truly feel like it will be worth it in the long term. So long story short, my morning is spent with my kids and feeding them and nourishing them, which in turn kind of nourishes me and feeds me as well, and fills up my cup with their love. Hopefully not temper tantrums, but it happens.
That is awesome. And so on that note, what time do you set aside for you and your self-care?
So I traditionally book a massage bi-weekly. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, my kids are with my in-laws. Well, my daughter's in kindergarten, but my son's in preschool. So they'll pick him up. We'll just drop him off. And then my youngest will stay with them. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays are really my days. So those are the days that I'm going for walks during the day, right? Once our morning routine is done and that kind of 10 o'clock time has come around, I'm at the spa, Florida Vita, one of my favorite spas in Verona, getting a relaxing massage for an hour. No talking, no nothing, just on the bed. I feel like that's honestly my time where my mind is clear, but then also doing like morning classes, sound bowl meditations on the weekends, maybe like a Sunday afternoon. But traditionally I intersperse throughout the week time for myself where I don't, I block off meetings, and it's definitely a juggle. I think a lot of young moms that have young kids, moms with young kids would say the same, where That's definitely that constant juggle that you're in of your children versus you, especially when they're sick, and how to really distinguish the two. So I've learned that if I am able to really fill my cup for at least 1 to 2 hours, like 3 days a week, I normally am good. And then there's times when I travel, so I have 3 full days alone and no one's chasing after me. And, I'm like, whoa, what is this world?
What do I do with myself?
Exactly. While my husband's getting his hair pulled in 5 different directions while he's taking cover. But it's been very much like a volley of sorts, right? Of things going well. And then maybe you're like, okay, no, I got to dive back into those self-care habits of going on walks, being in nature, taking classes, being with friends. And I'm lucky that also gets to be a part of the work that I do too. I love the work that I do. And when I'm networking, I think of it as a way of me taking care of myself because I'm showcasing who I am.
Yeah.
I'm meeting with people that I love. I love the people that I get to work with. So anytime I think I'm in that energy of love, right? I feel full. So it's always interesting getting asked the question of, how are you feeling after that event? I love events. So there might be a few hiccups, some feedback that you take into account, but largely as a whole, it's, that was great. Like that was really, really fun. My career I would have went into was accounting. So I would have been spending during the season, 80 hours a week doing corporate taxes. Oh, yeah, I don't think I would have been well.
Well, I can definitely relate with you because that's one thing I believe you mentioned that you were accountant before, and that's where we had connected because that was my life. I went to Baruch College. I did accounting for 15 years, and here I am an entrepreneur for over 25 years. And so that, if you count, that could tell my age a bit, but but I definitely understand it's a different role when you work in a corporate job compared to being an entrepreneur. So finding that timing, even though I feel that you still need to find that time when you're working as in the corporate world, but in an entrepreneur, it's like you're setting your time and you have to find all these little segments of time that completes you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. That makes you
Awesome.
whole. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when did you start being an entrepreneur?
So I started when I was in my last year of graduate school in 2017 rather, because I graduated in 2018. That's when I had come back from an internship through Ernst & Young. In the summer, I was sent to New York. I worked in New York for 2 months. They flew me here. They flew me there. I worked in England. I was selected a part of this selective program they had where they brought a select group to work overseas in different countries. So I was selected to work in England. I worked in the Canary Wharf for 4 weeks, traveled on the weekends. It was beautiful. I was able to get a beautiful insight into what the world could look like, but also what I was capable of and how unique my skills were. And from that point, when I came home, I had been with my boyfriend for a while at that point, and I challenged him and I said, I know what I'm capable of. Do you know what you're capable of? He had a home studio, a home recording studio ever since I met him back in 2013. And his dream was to make it a studio. His dream was to make that his full time. So I said, well, I'm going to challenge you to do it. So we actually had broken up over the summer while I was away. And really for the main reason of personal development, of if I'm going to take a quote unquote, you hear things like quantum leap, right? If you're going to take a leap this way, I'm going to need you to take one, but I don't want to pressure you because I can't do this for you. But let's take some time apart. We've been together nonstop since 2013. And so then when I came back, he said, I found a place. I signed the lease. Let's go. So we opened up in Rockaway, New Jersey, which is actually where we live now. We operated the Vault Music Studio. I did all of our community fundraising, built the website, built the socials, built the operations, got us on Gary Vaynerchuk. We were interviewed by him, saw him a few times in person. And then so that was my first year. And then in 2019, we welcomed our daughter. She was born in January though. So really my whole pregnancy and postpartum was self-funded. All 3 of them have been through entrepreneurship. But yeah, since 2017 is when I started entrepreneurship and by owning a vocal recording studio in a brick and mortar setting. So definitely wasn't traditional online business, was an in-person business, which are two different beasts of the same kind, of the same family, but different kinds of overhead and different kinds of liabilities that come with an in-person location. But looking back, I wouldn't have changed a thing. Being in 2017, now 2024, so we've been open for 7 years, and we have so many of the same artists that we've gotten to know over 7 years, and sometimes even further if they worked with Tyler, my husband, out of his home studio. So community just has always been my love. And I did a bunch of shows and did a bunch of events that were able to add to us to purchase new investments like microphones and speakers, because owning a vocal recording studio, it's an expensive hobby and it's an expensive full time as well when you're handling all the upgrades of $10,000 microphones,
Yes. Yeah. And how did starting up a community-based platform come about, working in all these different things and with all the experiences you have? Like, how did it come about, and how you found that name and you understood, but why was that so important for you to create?
Because I like to say that I was raised in community, being Norwegian and Colombian, and having both cultures represented when I was growing up. I spent time in Minnesota with my Norwegian community, and my grandpa always getting me involved in all of the Sons of Norway and various things that they do. So his culture could always be there for us, and traveling to Norway. And then the same for my dad. My dad's Colombian family, which lived in Bayonne when they moved here from Colombia, grew up in Brooklyn. So his family is really interspersed between New Jersey and New York. I spent time engulfed in community. It's just who I am. I don't know anything else other than being in community. And I think largely that's how our ancestors might feel as well, where they're like, what do you mean everyone's isolated now? Like but that's how we survived. We survived by being a community, especially when you talk about countries like Colombia with extreme poverty. You lean on your neighbors become your family. The guy who delivers your milk becomes family, and you guys take care of each other. And so I think then soccer, right, in the church, I had so many different communities growing up that then it came time for me building my business. So I built The Vault in 2017, but then I built No Plan B in 2020. And then I would go to these networking events, and I would go to these places that simply didn't have the vision and the values or the mission, regardless of the mission, that I wanted to see represented. And I was sitting around, and I had done events for my entire life. I started a mastermind when I was 18. I just think that community is natural to me. This is what I absolutely love to do. I'm going to start my own then, because I simply can't find one. It's like in my head almost, it's like these people just can't get it together. Like what in the world is going on?
It's like, I need to bring my own chair, my own table, and make it happen.
Right? Because that's what you think. So for a while, I went to different events, and I said, okay, I'm going to get involved here. But then largely there was no space for my big ideas, for my vision, my mission. It had to be my own. And so then when I founded NGN, it was the right fit. Of course, it's taken time and altering our offerings and the way that we build to be even more aligned to our vision and mission and where we desire to go, and bringing on aligned partnerships. But for me, I have always been in community. I believe that when a woman who is already so motivated, who is inspiring, who has overcome, when she gets around other women who are the same in a way, right? Who have that motivation, who have that desire, who have partnerships already established through their corporate career or through their life, when we all come together, we are so much more powerful as a whole than separately. So I said, why don't we see, right? Why don't we see what can happen? And of course, I asked my audience. Of course, I asked my followers. I didn't want to do a traditional Facebook community. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it could be what I wanted it to be. So that's when we decided to do like a white labeled app and website with a heavy emphasis on, in the future, once things opened up again, because we started in 2021, once things opened up, being able to offer more summits and workshops and in-person experiences.
Got it. And so you mentioned networking in there. Give me a definition of how you define community versus networking?
My personal definition, I think of community as my family. So my community, and we all have different pockets of community. I like to call it threads, right? Different threads that intersperse. So I have my church community, AKA, I like to call everyone family. So as long as we're close like that, like if we're not fam, we're not fam, and it's very obvious, right? So would I want to go to dinner with you? Would I want to spend a morning with you? Would I want to travel with you? Like, all right, we're kind of family here. So when community comes into play, I always think of it as my family, depending on whatever pocket that might be. And networking is almost the way that I find the members of my family that maybe I haven't found before. And I wouldn't meet unless we were in these rare scenarios. And being Hispanic, you know that you're always running into a cousin or two. You're like, wait, so your mom is so-and-so and your dad is so-and-so and we're related. Like, really? Are you serious? So that's what I like to think as networking. It's these scenarios where once in a while you just run into someone that you would have never met before, or you rekindle. And there you go. Now you become a part of my community, right? And there are also steps that go in between those because it is a journey. But I like to think of networking as the conduit for you to build your community. They both go hand in hand, and you can't have largely one without the other.
Got it. All right. So when you went to your first networking event, you have this mindset already of family, community. Were you afraid at one point? How did that icebreaker? What was your elevator pitch? All that stuff. Like, what was your first time networking like?
So I was trying to think like my exact first networking event, and I can't pinpoint the first one that I went to, but I can definitely think of the events that I've gone to that were run by different organizations and how each organization breathes its own life into the word networking, right? Based on, again, their mission, their values, their principles. So I had went to one back in the day when we started back in 2017, but I had went to one by people that were maybe 10 years older than my husband and I. So they were in the same kind of age range, but it was located in Morristown, New Jersey at a bar. Comedians, no prompts whatsoever, nothing. So I wasn't really nervous to go. And I wasn't really nervous to go there. It felt natural. Like, okay, let's go. Like, let's see who we meet. But everyone else there, they looked like islands. So we met a few people that we've never spoken to since this day. And that, again, was, I think, about 7 years ago now. And I think I really realized that the organization that's holding the networking event sets the heartbeat of it. Yes. And so if there's no heartbeat there, there's no heartbeat. So largely we had babysitter for that night though. Oh wait, because I'm trying to think of when it was. So maybe I'm thinking of when that happened when I was postpartum. Because if I have a sitter, like we're gonna make the best of it. Like it's just me and my husband. So we're just gonna chat, we're gonna laugh, but ever since other ones like that, I think I went to one that was in Parsippany, and I just remember always feeling like the odd one out, like walking in and being like, okay, am I not understanding this? Because I thought we were supposed to talk to each other. Like I thought we were supposed to get to know each other. And in some organizations, always feeling loud spoken, always feeling like I was too bubbly, too happy, too excited, and that I wanted more than they were willing to give, right? They weren't going to be willing to give me any tips or advice. They weren't going to be willing to give me any contacts. Largely, they actually really weren't willing to give me anything. And so you sit there and you realize, what in the world? Okay.
Why am I doing here?
Yeah. What am I doing here? And also, what are the rest of you doing here too? Because I'm just a little crazy like that. I love psychology. So I love understanding, what's drawing you here that's making you stay and become a member of this organization year after year for 20 years and realizing that sometimes it's just that status quo. Oh, well, this is just what we do.
Yeah.
It's an archaic model that is declining. I truly think that in the next decade, a lot of other communities, because they are communities, whether they call themselves a chamber of commerce or wherever, they're a community. So they're either going to have to really step up on their mission, vision, and values, or they're going to have to step back and let the newness come in and take place and either get adjusted to it or stay in their little boardrooms and little offices with their coffees and their secretaries. And you're either going to embrace the new or you're going to stay with what you know. And so I think I always sat around and this could be so much more. Don't you understand how you could have done this? And I would think about collaborating with some of these organizations. So of course I'd get to know the people. Okay, let me talk to the head, which is honestly the best thing you can do when you're going to join a community. Let me talk to the head. And then hearing what these men had to say, I would never want to go to dinner with you. I would never want you to meet the members of my family. I don't want to be around you, period. So
Right.
realizing I no, this isn't a member of my community. I networked. I got to know you. I don't need
That's
we
it.
don't need to be
Yeah.
in each other's lives past then.
Yeah.
And majority of the time we haven't, unless we run into each other on the street and we're like, hey,
Right.
how are you? Have a good day.
It is so interesting because, like, my first encounter, it wasn't like I was afraid, but I just didn't know how to. And my
Mhm.
partner gave me some pointers, and I remember clearly it was a big networking event for event professionals, and it was packed like sardines. I'm like, never again, number one. How do you meet people here? Like, literally. So I was so pumped. I go in there, it's like, wait, all I hear is loud noise. And how do people really have a conversation that's worthwhile? So from that particular one, I was able to probably have a conversation with two or three people. And then I knew maybe like three or four. And there was one photographer. Hey, here's my card. He was drunk. And I'm like, okay, what is happening here? And he's like, I'm the best of the best, and here's my card. I was like, yeah, no, this is not going to happen to me again. So from that particular instance, I've become intentional with my networking. But I was able, like you said, go to so many different communities, Chamber of Commerce, all these different things. And out of all that, I was able to say, okay, this is what I want, and this is what I don't want. I do not want to go into a networking that is about drinking. Now, if I wanted to go to an after hour event, that's different. But if it's networking, if I'm investing time to leave my home, I'm going to be intentional. I want to make sure I get either conversations that are valuable, that I can connect with people and feel like it was worth it, or if there's an educational piece to it. So, all of those three things, I was like, okay, after a few years, I became intentional. I was like, this is what I don't want. And as I shared before we hopped on, and I've shared it before, that I'm very, very specific. If I'm taking my time out to go someplace, I really have to connect with it. And I have been able to leave in like 5, 10 minutes if it's not resonating with me, because
Mhm.
it's not worth the time. I'll skip some traffic going back home or whatever, go to dinner or something like that. But
Yes.
I'd rather do that because it's your time. It's your time away from your kids, your husband. It's just different things. Or if you're going with your husband, it's time away that you're investing mentally,
Mhm.
physically, getting ready. And it's not like you're going down the block. It's like you got to get ready, get in your car, or take a transportation or things like that. So there's a lot of things that you have to look into when it comes to networking.
Yes.
So, what tips do you feel you can give somebody who feels uneasy with going to a networking event?
I think that it really depends. And sometimes this isn't the answer that a lot of people want to hear, but I tell people this often is that in order to give you the best tip possible, I want you to know where you're going. I want you to know what your long-term goals are. I want you to know where are you going, because that's how we'll know who we need to get on your side. So I
Yeah.
love to think of, again, networking as the conduit towards the goals that you're going to create. And when you're extremely intentional about the goals that you have and the gaps that you have, that allows you to fill in those gaps with those that you meet, so that way you can get to where you want to go. Because if you have gaps in an island, it's just you, right? You're alone in a boat and it's sinking and you're the only one
Mhm.
taking the water out. So if you feel like you're a little nervous about going to networking, first of all, ask yourself, why are you going there? Right? What is your desired outcome? Who are you going there to meet? Is there a list of people that you'd like to meet? So that's also why for largely any of our events and any of the work that I do, I need to know where you're going. I need to know what your long-term goals are, who's beneficial to have in your circle, right? What gaps do you have in your circle? And let's go fill those gaps. Let's have you walk away, even if it's with 3 contacts, which is still a really, really great amount of people, 3 solid contacts that can directly fill gaps that you have in your business right now. that are going to help you get to a different place by next week, by tomorrow even. And that's my number one tip is you need to know where you're going, because or else you're going to join a community, you're going to spend time at an event where a bunch of people in that room have no clue where they're going either. So now
Exactly.
it's the blind leading the blind. But if you know where you're going and you start to walk into events and realize, you'll start to see what those events are for. Are they truly just social? Is there no business involved there, right? Is this all kind of vanity? Is it just so people can get
Mhm.
dressed up and talk about themselves for the whole time? Or is
Yeah.
this for people? Who are you? You have to know who you are, what you stand for, and where you're going. And once you know those things, it'll be so much easier for you to use your discernment and exercise your intuition. You know what? I have a feeling, even though she's not promoted this event at all, even though I just followed her Instagram, I don't know. I have a feeling based on the way she's talking, I think I should go to this event. And even if there's 4 people there, based
Mhm.
on her mission, vision, and values, that's going to be the 4 people that I need to know. So that's why I'm always such a fan of small events too. Like go to that small local event that's held by someone that this is their 5th event.
Mhm.
Go try it out. Like if you feel the call and if you feel the pull, don't only go to events that have been, referred to you by your friends. Sometimes you have to start building your own little community, like your own little space.
Exactly.
People for you.
And I love that you shared that because again, you're just speaking to me like definitely every single thing that you've been saying because that's what I do.
Yeah.
Even though I'm in the event world, I've ventured into a different platforms where has nothing to do with event planning. And it's because the purpose of where am I going, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's not just going to be everything that I'm planning with my business. It's not just about event planning anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was just that.
Yeah.
Now it's more than that speaking, educating, mentoring, and also a platform for women's wellness. And that's not just in event planning. I want to service them, but I also want to be open to everyone else.
Mhm.
And I'm going to really touch on your event that you just recently had, which is the night of networking and self care. I shared earlier with you that I still don't know what it was that I experienced, but it was amazing. I came there intentionally to meet with people who resonated with where I was in my path. And just knowing that it was about self care and going with that intention, I was prepared to what I wanted to receive. And there was so much that I left there with, but I also intentionally wanted to connect with people. I've learned how to network. I know how to connect. It takes time, right? It's like, what am I looking to do past that, right?
Yes.
Am I looking to meet 200 people in one day? Or am I looking to intentionally meet with 10 people? I loved one of the things that you did. You said, now get up and go to someone you do not know and ask them, what can I do for you? How can I help you?
Ooh.
And I met the most amazing person. I was like, we have to connect. We have to speak after this. And so I would say I left there with 20 connections. And I definitely had to take selfies with almost everybody. So
Yes.
it
So you
was
can
like,
remember and yes.
definitely something that I felt you do have to go with intention. You do have to
Yes.
understand why you're taking that time out to go to a place, right?
Yeah.
And then also the follow up, because the follow up is just as important as the conversation that you're having there. So, what are some tips that you would recommend as to the follow up?
Yes, I say that one of the easiest ways to follow up, and again, this might sound outside of the norm, but find out what other organizations this individual might also be in. Because that's why in NGN we love doing virtual things and we love doing in person things because it also allows our members to continuously follow up with each other and build relationships. So if you find out, hey, what are you going to next? Right? I always say, always get a selfie with them and then post it and tag them in
Yeah.
your stories or in a post afterwards on LinkedIn, wherever you're doing your social activity. And then, hey, like that was so great. Like, is there anything you're going to next? One, because that also allows you to see, are there any things that this person that I aligned with is going to that I might not know about? But B, if they're sitting there saying, you know what, that was actually my first networking event. What do you recommend? That allows you to also say, oh my gosh, wait, now I get to share the amazing places that I love to go and what's on my calendar, and we can go together. Oh, okay. So like now this is something real, right? Like now we're going together a little bit here, and I love that. But it allows you to be a resource, because more than just being an individual, more than just being a business owner, is being a resource.
Mm-hmm.
And if you become a resource, if you say, oh, you know, I want to connect you with someone, give me your best email. I'm going to send you my calendar link right now. So if you don't already have a calendar link right through Calendly or whatever that looks like for you, throw together something quick on Calendly, or if you have a CRM, you might have one built in that you don't even know about, and start to get these people on your calendar. Like start to actually follow up with them. And if you know that you can, if you know that perhaps that's not your best area, right? That's not your zone of genius, isn't getting calls on the calendar doing it, but you love going to events, go to an event with them again. Hey, here's a list of some of the events I'm going to. You want to come with me? And see what they say. It sounds like in all, the next step and the best tip is to be inviting, is to continue that invitation energy, which I love to also call servant leadership, right? Growing up in the church and being active in mission trips and volunteering and giving back my time truly taught me. And I got to see people that have been in servant leadership their entire lives and didn't even know it. So having that servant mindset of like, hey, you were placed in my life. Maybe we're here to serve each other. Maybe it's only me sending a few people your way, and maybe that's what my impact was going to be. And that's okay too, right? We never know. Once we make those amazing connections, we might never know the purpose of it, but serve them, right? Serve that relationship that you know is aligned. And just
you are speaking to me like left and right. Oh my gosh. Like,
you're like, is this a direct line?
Like, giving me chills. I didn't want to interrupt you, but oh my goodness.
It's okay. Yes. Yeah.
You're right.
I think it's not always stated, and I don't think you have to be religious or spiritual to adopt a servant leadership mindset. And I think that it really isn't for the weak, especially the weak egotistically, right? If you have trauma that has led you to being an extremely egotistical person, you have to feed me, you have to pay attention to me. This might not be the leadership style for you, right? But if you're someone who maybe has delved into a lot of personal work, you have dealt with a lot of the trauma you've dealt with, worked through it, overcome it, and you realize that instead of dealing others the same card you've been dealt, you want to go behind them, help them look at their card, help them, oh, well, you can play this one here and you can play that one there, and adopting that servant leadership. Because if there's one thing of all the events that I've been to, and ways that I've been treated, I don't ever think that it's my duty to treat others the way that I have been treated in those instances, right? It's my duty to treat others the way that I desire to be treated, and creating a community with women feeding into each other, giving each other opportunities, investing in each other, not because of they feel like they have to, and not out of a space of lack, but instead out of abundance, right? Out of, I know that I just want to support you, and there's no strings attached. Like, I want to sponsor your event, no strings attached. I think it really curates that great community of servant leaders too. And those are the best kind of people you want to surround yourself with, because they're grounded, they're sure of themselves, they have a sense of confidence, because they don't need to have any strings attached. They know that when they do good comes back to them.
But you also have to be open to want to receive, to want to connect, to want to build that long-term relationship, right? Yes. So I've been speaking in my industry about building long-term relationships. So can you share a little bit about what does it mean to build long-term relationships or long-term community?
Yes, when it comes to long-term relationships, I think of some of the people that I've supported and have supported me for years now, for almost my entire personal career, or through the vault, or back from when we were little. And I think that some of those people you're simply in complete alignment with. I think these are individuals who were almost placed directly in your life to serve you, and for you to also serve them, and to really be entwined in each other's life story. I once asked, I had one of my clients that I work for loved sending me on different things to try out. So she sent me to her reader that she worked with. And I was like, can you tell me why I keep meeting these people that I feel like I've known for my entire life and lifetimes before? I feel like we've known each other for lifetimes. When we talk to each other, it's almost like we're just picking back up, even though I just met them. And he's like, well, think of it as your Justice League of sorts, of just these people that were sent into your life to rise with you, to grow with you, to lead alongside you. And I think that we can all desire that, but we have to, again, do the internal work to say, I am willing to give you your zone of genius. I am willing to refer out for things that I could do myself, but you do better. And you do it right, and you love to do it, and I don't. And so I think that that's what I've spent a lot of my life building, these people that are my pillars, that are my people that I go to, that I call when I need someone, or I call when we just want to catch up and celebrate and talk again. And building long-term community should look like you building out your table. And it can be as long as you want it to be, but it has to be authentic. You know, it has to be real. You have to, and this is just my core belief, that the highest level of energy that we can give each other is love, and authentic love, not coming again from a place of need or a place of lack and scarcity. But I have so much love inside me that I get to expand it even more by loving you. And then that gives you more love to love others. And I think that we should be in the frequency of love. I think that's right, the best frequency there is. And oftentimes people ask me when they walk into one of our networking events, like, what's going on here? Is everyone here happy? You know, like, is everyone,
what are they on?
yeah, what's going on? It's, you've got a group of people that love what they do. And if they don't love what they do, they're transitioning, they have a plan, right? They have goals set in place, and they're living in the now while also taking advantage of networking to build out that dream team. So your community in a way should be your dream team. And again, the team can be as big as you want it to be, or as small as you want it to be. But I'm so grateful for those that have been a part of my immediate network, that are people that I really rely on. And I think of them in a way as people that I've known for lifetimes before. And we're just so lucky to be in each other's life again. You know, we're so lucky to have each other. And that's just the way that I think. So obviously I either really align with people, I rub people the right way, or I rub them all the way the wrong way, with the first part being love. If people do not like using the word love, if they don't not like being in love, we probably shouldn't be around each other, because I love love. I think that the more I love you, again, in a very safe way, allows me to love myself even more. And each person that you meet is a mirror of things that you should be working on and healing as well. And things that you probably might happen to you in the future. And then you get that person to be on your side. So I think of my community as just groups of people that are in love with the work that they do, all of them unique in their own way, all of them so fully being themselves, their most authentic version of themselves. And then they don't need to scream that all across socials. It just shows up when they show up in the room. Right?
Exactly. That is key, because it'll show, and you'll feel it. You know, it's definitely going to show sooner or later, right? Whether it doesn't show right away,
it will reveal itself.
So with that said, on a good note, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
I feel like that question's always interesting, because I feel like people are always like, flight, like I'd love to fly around places, or I'd love to be invisible. And I wouldn't want the superpower of a long life. You know, I really think that we have our time on earth and we should make the most of it. I think maybe in a way, and I'm sure it would come with its caveats, but I would maybe love to heal. Like, I think that I would love to be able to heal people from the things that they might be going through, right? If I could lay my hands on someone and just be able to heal them, I think that would be an awesome superpower. Would it probably intertwine with people's lifetimes, and maybe their time was up and I saved them? What would happen? But if it were to be a superpower, I think that would be one that I would choose.
I like that. It's interesting, because as you were sharing that, I was like, I feel like in my journey, like I've been one to want to take hurt away from people. Whatever trauma has hurt them. And so if I had a superpower, if I was to answer that today, I would say to remove people's hurt so that they could proceed.
Absolutely.
And get to that next step, get the energy to get to that next step.
Yes. Yes. Because I think it's always so interesting when they're like, when there's this is to go so off kilter, but those that are pro-life, right, and that they don't want any sort of abortions, they're like, the answer to cancer could be in the brain of one of those babies. But in reality, the answer to cancer could also be in the homeless person that's getting passed by on the street. The answer to cancer could also be in the mom that was given no other option than to be a full-time mother because the dad left and skipped town. The answer to cancer could actually be in the brains of everyone around us if they were able to live their life to the fullest with whatever that should mean for them. Exactly. Taking away illnesses, the various things, mental illness, which is so rampant when you have trauma and hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
So exactly, more people that are in love with their life and the work they do, I think would make the world such a better place. And so I feel you 110%. When I meet people that are so hurt but so powerful and so capable of, I just hope that they meet the people they need to meet so that they can become the best version of themselves, right? They can start going through that process. So, hey, maybe you're the first peg on that, right? That you get to give them the resources and you get to give them the people that they can talk to that can help them.
Those are things that I'm actually working on. So I'm really, really excited about that. In January, I have some programs I'm putting together. It's about that. You can't proceed if something's holding you back. So how can I help you in identifying it, in creating the space that you need, the resources, the tools, and like you said, having love in your heart and a greater love with hoping the best for others. That's all intertwined to community and enriching the community that you come across and that you're a part of. So thank you for sharing that. So what would you share as a biggest takeaway from today's conversation?
I think that sometimes I feel that I'm the crazy one to say like, hey, I love love. I think love is amazing. But I think if anything, I always feel compelled to now and take away to share it even more, that you can love networking. You can love the community that you're building. You do not have to feel alone. You do not have to feel isolated. You don't have to feel like, oh, no one, I'm here in misery. No one's going to save me. When you're ready, love will come. Love will find you in unexpected events and unexpected corners and conversations. And you can find some beautiful people that are going to take you to that next place in your life.
That's awesome. And share with me what you have coming up with NGN and any events, the process of, I know you have a platform, so share a little bit about
For sure. So NGN has a quarterly membership model. So it's $22 a month or $66 for the quarter. We do biweekly virtual calls. And then also once a quarter, we do a week of master classes on topics like public speaking and finding your story and how to obtain more clients through social media, etc. And then we also do monthly in-person events at least once to twice a month out of women-owned storefronts and also preferably minority-owned storefronts. And then we have an annual summit, an annual Friendsgiving, and some other events that we have coming up in collaboration with local SBDCs, so local small business development centers.
Awesome. And so anything that you would like to invite them to?
Sure. I'd love to invite them to one of our biweekly virtual networking calls that we host. Of course, they're virtual, so we have members from all over the United States that join us, and we have 2 call times. So one's at 1 p.m. EST, and the other one's at 6 p.m. EST. That happen again twice a month. So I'd love to invite you to one of our virtual speed networking calls if you want to feel like, hey, what is this like? What kind of group are they like? If you don't want to take the risk of meeting us in person, or if you want to, feel free on our website, thenextgenerationnetwork.com. We have all of our upcoming in-person events normally over the next 2 to 3 months, but happy to invite you to one of our virtual calls to try us out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. This was like, it's networking, building relationships, community. It is like a part of me and who I am. So I always love to have this type of conversation. And the fact that you threw in there love and understanding what you can do and what you can offer, how you can say, how can I help you or how can you help me? That type of mindset definitely is not part of the archaic type community brand, especially in business, because you would think that as an entrepreneur, there's that different type of community and conversations that's more open than just a traditional type. So I'm hoping that your NGN platform really expands into a level of encouraging other communities
Yeah.
to get their act together.
You from your lips to God's ears. The hope that by doing and showing that they realize that this can be done, that it's desired, that
Yeah.
it's needed, and that it's almost like a home renovation, right? When you have that leaky faucet that's building mold, etc., it's going to be okay for a while, but when you go to address it, like address it now, address the fact of diversity and inclusion and equality now, because when you kick that can down the road, sometimes the road's not going to be there anymore. So
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much, Gabby. I was so excited to have you here. And I wish you all best with what you're doing. And for everyone who's listening, make sure to follow her. Her information is in the show notes. So make sure to click on there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Follow and comment and download this episode. And stay tuned for another episode of Inspired by Jacqueline. Take care. Bye.